August 25th, 1944. The liberation of Paris. You are there.
Walter Cronkite reporting August 25th, 1944. On this, the 222nd week of the Second World War, the Axis nations of Germany, Japan, and Italy are beginning to feel the return blows of the Allies in their vital centers. The war is far from over. Many good men and women will still die in the battles to come. Nevertheless, the symbol of democratic victory is at hand. In the Pacific, General MacArthur's pressure against the Japanese-held Philippines increases now that Guam, New Guinea, and Tinian are within American hands. In Burma, Chinese troops under American General Stilwell continue to cross the Salween River in force in their push to open the Burma Road. In Italy, Florence and Rome are liberated, while American and British forces dig into Germany's last Italian redoubt, the Gothic Line. In the Balkans, Romania has surrendered. In Central Europe, the Russian armies press along the Vistula to the very gates of Warsaw and thrust toward the German heartland, squeezing the other half of the giant nutcracker of which the western lever is the second front. The recent invasion into southern France has liberated Marseille, and in the north, and the main American and British attacks have closed the Falaise Gap and rolled back the Nazi supermen until at this very instant, Paris is ringed on two sides by Americans, while within the city, the French citizens in revolt for a week are on the verge of liberty. Today, we will devote our on-the-spot coverage to the explosive situation within Paris. For those of us for whom Paris is a symbol of liberty, of civilization, of the good and happy life, today has a quality which perhaps no other moment of coming victory will ever match. 4 long, bitter years ago, the Nazis marched into Paris, and the world wept. Today, in exhilarated confusion, we hear the most extraordinary stories of a city which exploded into revolt against the express wishes of the Allied commanders. Yesterday, we heard a clandestine broadcast that the city was free. Today, there are reports that it is almost destroyed. We take you to the advanced armored column, grinding on toward Paris. All things are as they were then, except...
You are there.
This is Harry Marble. We are with General Leclaire's troops on the outskirts of Rambouillet, about 32 miles from Paris. The country is alive with armored vehicles, and ever since last night, tanks and troops are beginning to chop their way through ruined towns and villages toward Paris. The very air is electric with hope. These men are the hardened veterans of 100 retreats and lost campaigns. These are the faces of men who never gave in. I spoke to one of these men, a sergeant on the Tank Orléans. His name is Paul Destin. He lives at 18 Rue Mazarine, Paris. He said, I'm on my way home. Rue Mazarine is narrow. I will drive up the wrong way as I did my bicycle when I was a boy. No hands. Men like him in tanks will deliver the Sunday punch that frees Paris and Rue Mazarine. Winston Burdett is in the temporary headquarters of General Leclaire. Take it, Winston Burdett.
This is Winston Burdett, and we are in General Leclaire's headquarters. It is dawn, and the march on Paris has begun. The firing comes from action at Nazi roadblocks leading into the city. General Leclaire has kindly agreed to answer a few brief questions. General Leclaire, why did the Supreme Allied Command wait so long to go into Paris?
Their plan was not to go into Paris at all. They were strongly opposed to a civilian revolt.
For what reason?
It was the opinion of the American and French military leaders that any attempt to take Paris by force would involve the destruction of the city. By squeezing Paris from two sides, we were forcing the enemy out, thus saving the inhabitants from bombardment and the city from ruin.
Has the main body of Nazi troops withdrawn from the city?
Some have, I don't know. We are meeting heavy resistance now on the approaches, but last night 3 of our tanks penetrated and made contact with the resistance government. I hear there are still some 10,000 troops there, in addition to tanks and an SS detachment. Are we ready?
Yes, mon general.
We're moving on. Pardon.
Then you believe the revolt of the Parisians was rash and foolish?
So the Supreme Command considers it. It has jeopardized the safety of the city and was begun against specific orders to the contrary.
How do you account for it then, sir?
I have no information, but it could very well be the work of provocateurs, for many Frenchmen found great rewards in working for the Nazis. Naturally, these rewards will change as of today.
Then you consider the Parisian revolt undisciplined and foolish?
I consider it, monsieur, quite Parisian.
Thank you, General Leclerc.
You may be interested to know what the general said when he first heard that the Parisians had revolted, despite orders sent to them secretly that they should not.
What did he say?
Thank God, he said. There is still a free nation in France to liberate. Au revoir. See you in Paris.
While French troops of General Patton's Third Army move in on Paris, we take you now to an FFI command post inside the city itself. Come in, Bill Leonard in Paris.
This is Bill Leonard on a rooftop near the Sorbonne. People don't walk anymore, they run. They don't carry books, they carry guns. They don't talk, they shoot. Patriots are trying to prevent the last Nazis from looting the city. I talked with a messenger a few moments ago, and he told me that one of Leclerc's armored columns has smashed through a Nazi roadblock at Port d'Orléans. Here comes a Nazi truck loaded with loot, pillows, sheets, pots, and a grenade. He was hit by the grenade. It's burning. God help him, that man's on fire. Some Nazis are running for it there. Now the French are trying to save another man. Here's a Nazi who hasn't given up. He's been hit several times, but the firing's general now, and there's anger and hatred behind each bullet. There's an FFI woman trying to salvage his weapons. She'd better get away from there fast. Ned Calmer's on the street with the FFI. Come in, Ned Calmer.
Les Forces Françaises de l'Intérieur, known the world over as the FFI, are all over the place. They not only shoot, but they get shot. The Red Cross is busy day and night. Danger is everywhere. Every man and woman tense. Every house a headquarters. Every corner a trap. Every street a grave. The center of every point of resistance is the barricade. They run there for cover. They wait there to attack. We're nearing one of these barricades now. A barricade is built of anything: old bed springs, carts, stones, fallen trees, burnt-out trucks. These barricades have played a decisive role in the uprising in Paris, since they keep the tanks and armored cars from freely roaming the streets and nipping in the bud the first enthusiasm of amateur soldiers. The tired man in the shirt sleeves is Philippe Rouard, the FFI commander here. We'll try to interview him later. Anything going on up there, Bill Leonard?
The streets are hot with Nazi tanks trying to break up the barricades. And people at the barricades trying to break up the tanks. Those tanks nose around like hungry bulldogs, snorting and growling in the corners, heavily armed monsters that still fear mere men with rifles. But all Frenchmen aren't patriots. Opposite Notre Dame are French fascist snipers firing at the men who are firing at the tanks. And everywhere among the passions and the hates and the courage, the city burns.
This is Ned Calmer now, heading for FFI headquarters. In this area, it happens to be a cafe. It's also an infirmary, an ammunition depot, message center, and in every lull, headquarters for a drink of wine. I'm in the bar now, the command post. I haven't heard anything about the bridges, but I'll see.
That tank is roaming around, Captain. It's a lost dog looking for a home, huh?
Commander, we've just got a report that the Germans are blowing the bridges.
I doubt it. The bridges are heavily guarded by the FFI and have been ever since the first day. It's a Nazi rumor. Can't be. There was the very reason for this uprising, to prevent such crimes and demolitions. And we have. Those friends of ours on the outside. They make fine plans. Oh, yes, they do. We will squeeze them out, and what will they be doing? Sitting on their hands? They were going to blow up the telephone exchange, the metro, the public buildings, the monuments, the bridges. The police struck. We insisted. Now was the time, and we were right. After all, we will still live here after the Boche is gone.
However, there's been considerable loss of life.
For 4 years, men and women have been preparing to lose their lives on a day like this. You think it's no loss of life to crawl through the streets and say yes or no to those swine? Sometimes it's better to die if to live is an outrage.
I had a friend who was picked up by the filthy pigs and taken to the air ministry. That old building, you know, in the suburbs.
They still hold it.
Still hold it. They gave him the treatment there, the complete course, the extras, and the diploma of bullets in the face. At least now a man can take a gun, run around, and yell a little before he goes down.
This is Julian. He arrested the collaborationist prefect of the Senate.
Boy, that was an experience. On the 19th, the posters are up. Paris arrives. Paris is waiting to see what will happen, except for the men and women already organized. I go with a few friends to the city hall. I say to this prefect, this collaborator, this pig, Sherry, you are under arrest. Then he says to me, I wish to know why you have come. Who sent you? So I tell him, in the name of the provisional government of the French Republic.
And how did you get involved in this, madame?
I was involved from the beginning because my husband was involved. And 3 days ago, my child was born. And my husband was out someplace doing something for the cause. Oh, you make a telephone. My dear, he says, how is the little one? Fine, I say. Goodbye, he hangs up. 1 day passes, 2, 3. The child is not registered at the town hall. So yesterday, I leave the child with a neighbor, and I go through the streets and register the boy at the town hall in the Batignolles. That was something. The child is registered.
Couldn't you wait until the city calmed down?
After all, a child who was born to be a hero, a mother must risk something.
And your husband?
For 9 months, I watched the child. Now is his turn. I have work here. He's gonna die.
Take his name.
What's your name? Your name? He says it's Thibault. That's a French name.
Probably one of those families chased from this country 300 years ago. Now he comes to kill us without knowing why.
He opened the turret and tried to throw out the grenade which I just threw in.
You were on the tank.
Naturally, so I shot him. And I flung it back inside and I jumped. He fell after me, poor boy.
Hello? Yes.
Yes? First tanks have just passed through Port Orleans.
This living and dying will go on until the last Nazi is out of Paris, until the last Nazi is out of France. All day long, we've been trying to make contact with Lucia at the old air ministry in the suburbs, which has been used as a prison for French resistance fighters all these years. According to the last reports, there were hundreds of French men and women still there, awaiting trial and execution. Lou Chaffee, can you get through to us now? Do you hear me, Lou Chaffee? Come in, Lou Chaffee.
This is Lou Ciaffi in the old Air Ministry building. This place is still strongly held by the Nazis, who are guarding the approaches and keeping open a line of retreat out of the city. They are carrying on business as usual here. Before us is Major Reiner, an officer in the SS, the elite troops in charge of this prison. Major Reiner, how long do you intend to hold this point?
Until I've completed my mission here.
And what is that?
To carry out the military judgments made on the terrorists we have under guard in the prison. All the men and women have been sentenced to death for crimes against the German occupying authorities. The orders are being executed.
What purpose can that serve?
It will discourage other terrorists elsewhere. Besides, I'm merely fulfilling my orders as a good soldier.
Why don't you just release these prisoners?
That is impossible. I could take them with me, but we no longer have the facilities. The friends of the partisans have made it impossible. Therefore, I'm carrying out the sentences.
Do you intend to evacuate the city with your troops?
Had we so intended, we would have long since departed. We have received personal orders from the Führer, Adolf Hitler, to defend Paris to the last man and destroy it.
Do you intend to do so?
We do not have enough forces.
But there are 10,000 troops in Paris, 49 tanks, flamethrowers.
The implication being, I presume, that I should have no difficulty in suppressing this outbreak of mob spirit. But I have tried to be correct, to avoid bloodshed and useless cruelty.
Do you intend to destroy the city?
That was our plan.
What prevented this?
The unexpected uprising which was made in defiance of all the rules of civilized warfare. Such civilian terrorists under the rules of warfare subject to immediate execution. And the prison is empty, we will retreat.
Aren't you afraid that if Germany loses the war, there may be reprisals for your action here?
How can that be? I'm merely obeying the orders from my superior officers. It's my duty as a soldier.
World opinion may call it brutality, not mere military duty.
World opinion always goes with those who win. If we have camps for different elements, world opinion calls them concentration camps. When we execute spies and traitors, it is called brutality. When the enemy allies do it, it's called justice. Why listen to world opinion? One only listens to one's own leaders.
But for all practical purposes, the war is over. Hitler can no longer win.
That is a possibility, but then how does it affect the issue here?
Major Reiner, this man's file does not indicate any sentence. The space is blank.
The war is over, Major. Let us change places. I will see that you get the same fine treatment you gave me.
French wit, huh?
You are killing men and women for nothing now, for no reason. You cannot win. It cannot help you one way or another.
I hardly think, monsieur, that it is in your province to determine that.
I can hear the guns of our allies entering Paris. I can hear the voices. Are you deaf? Are you blind? What are you? Are you mad to keep killing and killing when the end is already here?
Sergeant, I think there's a mistake in the file. This man sounds exactly like a terrorist. Have him executed for the rest.
No, I want to see the victory, Major. It's all over. The end is here.
What victory? In a nation's history, one war is just a step forward or backward. Take the man away.
Yes! You are right! Yes, you are right! You are right to kill me. It is right for a Nazi to kill to the last minute. It would be wrong to spare me and let the world imagine, even for one moment, that you are members of the human race. Yes! Kill me, so that we will never forget what you are. Kill me, or else I have lived for nothing. Kill me! Yes, kill me! Kill me! Yes! Kill me!
I give you my last words. Remember, for those who forget, may God curse them with wars and death until they and their children are no more. Leave alone.
The executions continue here as they did throughout the 4 years of domination. And I suppose the uprising in the city is more than mere patriotism. It is also hate. It is the bile of 4 years pouring out from the suppressed and bitter people who endured what words and pictures can never adequately represent.
This is Harry Marble. The Parisians are coming out of their burrows on bicycles, on foot, running, hurrying to welcome the first friendly tanks in 4 long years. The moment of triumph is about to arrive. The moment of supreme realization that freedom is here again, that freedom is a citizen of Paris again. You can feel the trembling in the air. You can see it on every face. You can hear it in every voice, and you can't describe it. Come in, Bill Leonard.
This is Bill Leonard again. And here are those friendly tanks Harry Marble mentioned, sporting the Croix de Lorraine instead of the swastika. The swastika no longer struts. It walks obediently. It walks fearfully, and it should. I wouldn't want to be a prisoner down in that crowd. Those French men and women have too much to remember and too much to avenge. They remember the firing squads, the gas chambers. They remember the torture rooms of the Gestapo. They remember those who will never come back. Four years don't wipe out in one moment, and some have less restraint than others.
Harry Marble again. The noise is tremendous. I can hardly hear my own voice. The story's very simple. There's only one story. France is free again. Paris is free again. And now as the city flows and sweeps around allies, friends, brothers, as the last enemy strong points fall within, Paris, now in the midst of this joy, is the place not to forget. A time to remember with awe and a sense of the grandeur of the human spirit. The story's everywhere. It's in the faces of the soldiers. It's in the faces of the civilians. It's in the purring of the tanks. It's in the fluttering skirts of the girls. It's in the refusal of the crowds to stand back. It's in the chaos. France is free. It's the kissing and the drinking. It's in the faces of children that smile without fear. It's noise, noise, noise. It's almost impossible to describe, and even if I did, you'd never hear a word of it. France is free.
That evening in a bare and dingy railroad station at an unpainted wooden table, General von Choltitz signed the surrender before General Leclaire, and officially Paris was free. Although half of France and all of Hitler Germany were yet to be subdued, for the world the symbol of human liberty had been re-won, and another totalitarian attempt to conquer or control the world had come to ruin. The arguments continue among historians. Was it wise or foolish for the Parisians to revolt at this last hour? Did it save or endanger the city? In cases like this, perhaps the ones to trust are the ones who risk their lives. And these resistance leaders said then and say today that much more was at stake than the real estate in Paris. The spirit, the soul, the very honor of the French people was in question, and only the uprising could have saved the true idea of the nation. It did. What sort of a day was it? A day like all days, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our time. And you were there.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, Please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.